People We Meet on Vacation is a Netflix rom-com based on Emily Henry's novel of the same name. Like the novel, the movie presents its story through interspersed flashbacks to the vacations Emily Bader's Poppy and Tom Blythe's Alex take together platonically as friends. But are they more than friends? Of course they are. This is a rom-com. Director Brad Haley already has experience with novel adaptations like this, with All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, or John Green's Looking for Alaska, which was actually a miniseries, and he only directed one of the 8 episodes in total. But I'm mentioning this because I didn't connect with neither of those miniseries and movies respectively as well with those adaptations, only having read Looking for Alaska. I just feel like that's sort of a common through line, that these adaptations seem quite basic and sort of lack the chemistry needed from the lead cast for the stories that they're trying to tell. I'm also not the target audience for this, who has either read the novel or just wants to watch a light Netflix rom-com, but I was going into this film trying to have a good time with it and enjoy it. But honestly, I struggle quite a bit. Sometimes a romance film can be carried by the charm of an actor more than their character, or unexpected turns in the story, or the actors are just incredibly attractive, and you'd hope for compelling characters to root for, to figure out what they want, and hopefully exist a little further outside of the frame. But the core dynamic in the story really doesn't have anything to offer, unfortunately. Poppy is a travel writer who is very bubbly and a type of act first, think later type person with a hardcore main character syndrome, who is basically the embodiment of I'm just gonna do what's best for me right now type of behavior. Maybe it's the era that we're living in right now with this hyper individual social media, big fandom and celebrity that really turns me off from a character like this that is seemingly incredibly self-centered, and really only the people who are like named characters in the movie actually matter, and then none of everything else in the world sort of exists. It comes off incredibly fake, and other than, you know, being praised as a great blogger who gets to ride as a travel blogger writer for her career and pines over Blythe's Alex, we really don't get anything from her as a person other than that she doesn't like her hometown, that, you know, she might be running away constantly from something, is afraid to like settle down. But those are symptoms. They're not like the core of someone, and it just really was rather bland and boring overall. And in fewer words, this movie is just incredibly shallow, unfortunately. But that can be totally okay for a fantasy smut story where Blythe is like the mysterious, sexy love interest. But from what I could gather, the book isn't really like that explicit or like that, and neither is the movie really, apart from, you know, a few like intimate scenes, but they don't get like spicy. But it carries a lot of like the typical fantasies for love stories like this, like the, oh, he's unexpectedly an amazing dancer, or he's, oh my god, I didn't know that you were this ripped type of thing. I just never believed that either of them would fall heads over heels for one another. You would sort of want that if it ultimately goes to a place where it's more than just like a fling and a connection that they have over years. And I really just never felt that. So if you're taking anything away from this review, please go watch Before Sunrise or Before Sunset, or afterwards, Before Sunset, to understand what I mean when I say that the feeling of experiencing and seeing that spark between two people in a movie can be magical, and at the same time getting to realize that you are falling for someone, that you are into someone, can be incredibly thrilling. And in this film, I just never felt any tension between those two, apart from, oh look how different we are from one another in like the initial meeting, and then all of the rest is just very much rooted in a lot of like exposition dumping. And hopefully by the end of it, we might be on a way where we agree on some things, but the differences is what really, you know, draws us to each other. Like the rule of opposite attraction, or the sort of thing where he's characterized as like, you know, vacation Alex. He's like behaving like a totally different person, but I never understood who he was when he's not really vacation Alex, other than being like a sort of very typical bland and boring type, which I just didn't get an understanding of what sort of character he was other than, like, you know, a stereotype. There's also a ton of excuse my language here, porn intro level hijinks these two get into to force some tension and intimacy into their dynamic, and it just is so painfully forced when you have to be standing in the rain for a kiss, or, you know, the room is too hot, oh no, we better undress, or something like that. Another big selling point of the film is the vacations that they go on together. Can we expect to see like fun places around the world that they are having fun in, sort of connections that they form with people that they meet there? And really that part is quite underwhelming. It really drags out the intimacy between those two as well, because a lot of it is told through flashbacks, and in a lot of those flashbacks it's just about their friendship, or it's more about the situations that they're in, other than addressing or building towards the relationship between those two. And then it just like really just happens all at once, and it feels in some points very rushed, and in others quite dragged out, and we are like losing sort of a focus, which is fine because a lot of it is just like, you know, a hangout as well. But they never really contextualize in a good way why they drifted apart, and I feel like that was also over narrated, over emphasized, and just the way that it's presented was quite off-putting to me as well. Lucas Gage has a small role in the film too, with some comedic moments that overall had me chuckling a few times, but I really can't emphasize enough how basic this movie came off to me overall. Alan Ruck and Molly Shannon get to shine as Poppy's parents in like one or two scenes, but it does have like that typical Netflix writing that they basically spell out everything quite literally to you. Overall, and in conclusion, I would say it feels like a premixed rom-com that borrows tropes from other films without ever providing its own flavor. It's easy on the eyes because of the cast, but really not much more than that. And I'm giving People We Meet on Vacation a 4 out of 10. The movie is now streaming on Netflix, and book readers, listen up. I would love to know if this is a faithful or a good adaptation of the novel. Like I said, I haven't read it myself yet. Is it good in your eyes? And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. That goes to everyone. Disagree or agree with my thoughts if you've read the book or not. And I hope you're having a good day. Subscribe for more reviews, and I'll hopefully see you soon.